Joining me now is Eric Ham, our CTV News political analyst. And you're in Washington right now with that lovely background. I can see the Washington Monument there, Washington
Yeah,
Memorial.
that's right. We're here, and just in a few days, we'll see who the new occupant will be of the White House.
How is the feel there right now in Washington?
Right now, it's a bit subdued. Everyone is bracing for what we can expect on Tuesday. And of course, we got that new polling data last night about Iowa, which shows that Kamala Harris is now ahead in Iowa by 3 points. In fact, also what we saw is that the early voting in Iowa seems to be bolstering this new polling data. In fact, the early vote shows that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are essentially tied in Iowa. Now, that's important because Iowa is a state that has gone traditionally Republican, and it's a state that, quite frankly, Democrats don't even compete for at this time. And so many are thinking that if there is now a late shift in a ruby red state like Iowa, what does that mean for some of these key battleground states like North Carolina, where we see Donald Trump speaking to thousands of his supporters?
Any indicator on why Iowa might be swinging? What's changed there?
Yes, women. What we are seeing here is just like we've been seeing in the early vote, there has been a massive gap between men and women in the polls, with women outnumbering men by 10 points in early voting. And now what we're also continuing to see is that as women begin to gear up to go to the polls on election day, they are now beginning to shift towards Kamala Harris. So we're seeing this late shift, not only in the polls, but also in the early vote. Also, we have to remember, already more than 70 million people have voted early. Now, that's interesting and important because we also know that there were at least 65 million people who had requested early balloting. And now we've already seen Americans go through that number. And so by the time Election Day actually gets here, we could have nearly half of the electorate that has already voted in this election.
And with that, does that change the dynamics going into Election Day when you've had that many people vote in advance?
Oh, absolutely it does, because what it means is now campaigns don't have to spend so much time trying to actually get their supporters to the polls, and they don't have to work as hard to try to message to them. So there's micro targeting going on now. But on the day of election, if you've got half the electorate voted, that makes it so much easier for these polls to actually begin to focus on where they need to be and who they need to be speaking to make sure that they actually vote on election day.
And with this last 2 days, they're in the battleground states for most of the next couple of days. Who are they targeting right now? Is it their base are they targeting, or is there still that group of undecided that they want to get there?
Well, let's be clear, Roger. There are no undecided voters at this point. And the reason why is because when you look at states like North Carolina or even Wisconsin, you have sizable numbers of independent, unaffiliated voters who are actually coming out in droves to vote. In fact, in Wisconsin, it is the unaffiliated voters that are actually voting at a higher percentage rate than Democrats or Republicans. So even though there are people who might not be affiliated with Democrats or Republicans, what we're seeing is there is increasing energy and excitement among those voters themselves to actually come out to the polls. So in terms of undecided, there are none at this point. The question is, can this election actually break the record, of course, that was set in 2020?
All right, we will have to see. We are out of time, Eric. Thank you as always. And I love that cap, too.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day. Thanks, Eric. Eric Ham is our CTV News political analyst. And a reminder, CTV News channel will have special coverage on election night. That's Tuesday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern.